All right, Mike, let's get after it.
All right. I have 4 questions.
Okay.
First one is, if somebody's looking to start on a weight loss journey, where's the first place to start?
First place I would start. There's kind of two answers to this. The simpler way would be to start walking, just because what it's going to do to the brain. The more effective thing would be to focus on sleep, but that could be trickier for people. But those are two things I would look at first. Uh, Walking is usually a very low barrier for people to begin, and then you just slowly start building momentum. What would you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the walking portion for sure. I think just getting up, getting moving, and with that, it kind of what you said, but something that you can stick with. So walking is, like you said, low barrier to entry. Somebody can stick with it over time versus trying to jump into a program at a gym or some kind of extreme diet. They stick to it for a week and then they fall off. So I definitely agree with the walking and the sleep. What would you recommend for people? Let's say they're struggling to fall asleep, stay asleep. What's level one sleep protocol?
You could get on a supplement like magnesium. We have different magnesiums at the gym. That's very effective, but usually, most of the time, it's because their mind is overactive. So then you got to start. That's why sleep can be tricky because people know they should sleep more typically, but they're up watching TV. So you start trying to get them a nighttime routine where it might be okay. Let's shut the screen time off maybe at 9 o'clock. And that's phones. That's all this type of stuff. Maybe it's there's a whole bunch that you could do some sleepy time tea, the magnesium. You could do some type of journaling, but then people, again, most people aren't going to take action to that level, even though it sounds simple. So maybe you start with one night a week um, with some type of nighttime routine. That's different than what they're currently doing because it's hard for people to make that change, right? They want to stay up, they want to veg out and just do all this stuff. So if you're looking at supplements, magnesium, and the other way would be developing some type of routine to wind the brain down before they go to bed.
Yeah, and when you think about it, most people probably already have some kind of routine before
Yeah.
bed, but
Yeah.
more than likely it's, oh, I watch TV for 30 minutes before bed, or I scroll on Instagram for 30 minutes before bed. So it might be adding something to the routine.
Yeah.
Now, usually it's easier to add versus subtract. So maybe you add in, I'm going to write on a piece of paper like a journal for 5 minutes or something like that. So I think that's great, is kind of modifying the routine that they're currently doing to something that's more beneficial to their sleep.
Yeah. And with both of those things, like with sleep and the weight loss thing, just slow and steady. Don't go too intense right out the gate. Just not one change, do that, and then you build upon it.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, Linda had asked, she's moving along in her weight loss journey. As she gets lower and lower, she was saying that there's going to be some kind of loose skin. Will strength training help combat some of the loose skin?
Not really. No, it's depending how old you are. Loose skin can sometimes bounce back. I mean, it can tighten up, but the elasticity as we get older kind of gets less and less and less as far as the bounce back. It's almost like a balloon that's been stretched out for too long. So working out, I mean, if it was your arms, for example, and you could fill it out with a little bit of muscle, that'll help. But again, you're talking about uh, that could take years, and then just putting on muscle is a hard process. So one of the things I teach people with the fasting, if they're really serious about getting rid of their loose skin, is you can do longer form fasting or even dry fasting. Now, most people aren't willing to do that, but the loose skin is an energy source. If you want to lose that, besides having surgery, those are really your only options. You know, is doing longer form fasting and being really consistent with it. We've had people that have done that, and the dry fasting is like another level. That's more effective at that. But again, are people willing to do that? And that goes into like a whole bunch of stuff as far as working on the mindset and all that. What are they actually after?
Yeah.
Before they really try to do something like that.
Yeah. Step one is completing the journey.
Yeah, complete the journey. Realize that A lot of people think that a lot of people are going to see them almost nude. Like that's what people have in their head. Like all these people are going to see me almost nude, and it's like they don't. Nobody. I mean, even for guys, right? In the summer, you go to a couple pool parties, but it's not like people are seeing like your arms and your legs. They're usually not going to see any loose skin, especially if it's something you want to be hidden. So it's you got to really see what you're after with that. But no, exercise won't help with that.
Cool. Next question is, how would you combine? I know you're doing more running now. How would you combine strength training and running? Do they contradict each other? Can they be complementary to each other? And I guess we can start in terms of weight loss and then go in terms of performance for running.
Yeah. So my whole thing against running always has been it's completely useless for weight loss. It will do nothing for weight loss if that's what you're trying to do. And there's been people that have been well documented, people that run 15, 20 miles a day, can't budge their weight. You will see if you go to like half marathons and stuff, a lot of people that cross the finish line are overweight or chubby. So as far as weight loss, it is not effective for that directly. If you're going to use it for the mindset and to drive, make you get the runner's high and endorphins and drives the other habits, then it can help with weight loss. But that's indirectly because you're going to be sticking with other habits and all that. Now, as far as combining it, I read an article about this guy. Probably when we were still in the townhouse. He was talking like 5, 6 years ago, and I think he was doing like either marathons or ultra marathons. He was like a pretty big power lifter, pretty big time. He must have weighed like 220 pounds, and then he competed in bodybuilding. So he was doing all this, and he was like a PhD in exercise. He was trying to show everybody, look, you can do all this stuff. It's people, what they get confused at is, are you going to be a world class necessarily bodybuilder and a world class marathon runner at the same time? No. But they definitely complement each other. Taryn, my sister-in-law, when she wanted to break her, she was stuck at a barrier. I think it was for the half marathon. Might have been like 2 hours. Whatever it was, she could not break this barrier. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and then all we said was come in one day. I think she did one day a week at that time and just really trained the backside of her legs. And then she beat it by like 10 minutes. And that was all she changed. She backed down into running. So strength leads to endurance. So your strength training is going to greatly improve your running. Um, and you keep a blend. And another mistake people make is they're trying to work out 5 days a week of weights and trying to do 5 distance runs per week. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Unless even if you had all that time, you can't. That's where you're just gonna fry yourself.
Yeah, too much stress.
Yeah, it's too much stress. But I think you gotta. It goes back to like with the loose skin thing. Like, what's really turning your brain on right now for exercise? And you're gonna go through different phases in your life. Like I never thought I would want to dabble in running, but it's good for my mind, and I want to see. And I'm learning different stuff through it. So.
Yeah, like we touched on before, it's habits. If you like to run and enjoy running, then maybe it's running 2 days and lifting one day, or whatever the case is. But consolidating the stress, balancing both, and then like you said, sometimes maybe running will be a little bit more, lifting will be a little bit less. Sometimes lifting is more, running is less. It's all a balance.
It is, and just try to move every day somehow.
And with that kind of playing into stress, a lot of people don't see lifting as stress. So if somebody's super stressed at work, super stressed with their family life, would you recommend any tweaks to training? Would you recommend adding anything into the routine?
Walking, like we talked about before, is one of the first things I would do. Walking is really the only form of exercise that's going to lower your stress hormones. And again, low barrier to entry. But you do have these people that are usually chronically. You have like 2 different types. You have people that are chronically stressed, but they're very type A. So if they're going to work out, they're going to want to go hard. They're going to want to do all this. They're going to diet hard. They're going to do, and they're making the problem worse. They're putting gasoline on the fire. That type of person, you want to try to, like when we have the heart rate monitors at the gym, ideally you would like to really limit their output, limit how much they're doing. Don't let them get into the red zone because that's by their nature. Then you have other people that are chronically stressed and they just turn into a vegetable. They don't want to do anything. And it's just out of body, you have different personalities. So with that, Um, that's where you just try to get them moving, right? And then all of a sudden they start feeling better. It could be, hey, to go for a 10-minute walk. Once they can start clearing some of the cobwebs and the bad emotions, then they can start, moving forward on their path.
Yeah, I think you made an excellent point about making the problem worse. I think a lot of times some of the type A people that think they're a little bit overweight, but the weight gain could be due to stress.
Yeah,
Like you said, they go in the gym, they go really hard. In reality, they're probably making the problem worse. They probably
yeah,
need to dial it back a little bit, still move, but maybe not lift a ton of heavy weights and go 5 times a week. It might be 3 days of lifting, 2 days of walking.
yeah.
But in their mind, walking isn't going to be sufficient for their
It,
goals.
it is, and that's because people have that right. They still are stuck in this burn, this calorie game. Burn more, eat less. And then you think with cortisol, the main stress hormone, it can either be used to build or to burn. So in a healthy body, it's going to burn body fat, right? Because it opposes insulin really, and it's kind of correlated with growth hormone. But when some people get too stressed, cortisol is artificially elevated all the time, and now they are stress eating, doing stuff like that. So now you have elevated cortisol, elevated insulin. That's going to build. They're going to get fat. They're going to get a lot of visceral fat, a lot of inflammation. It's a recipe for disaster. So it's that cortisol, correlate that to the stress. Is it building or burning? You know, and if you just did an assessment, and it's easier when you're working one on one with people,
Yeah,
uh, their personality and their body shape.
yeah, absolutely right. The last thing I had is, especially during the summer, people are going to barbecues, people are going to Fourth of July parties, Labor Day parties. How would you reset after a quote unquote bad weekend?
Well, me personally, what I would do is I just hop right back onto my fasting plan. It doesn't, it hardly ever changes, and that's the beauty. When you start going down that path, you have a lot more leeway. But other than that, the mistake that people make is they'll do something like that, whatever they're doing, nutrition wise or workout, they think they got to make it all up in that next 1 or 2 days or next week. Just go back to what you were doing, because if you don't stress it, a lot of people have guilt around that stuff, and that's a big problem. If it's planned out, don't have any guilt about it. Enjoy your life. It's when you start binging, and that's where you'll get into a binging cycle. If you get this pendulum where you have party on the weekend, go really hard. Now you start getting more stress. Now you start, it's just this bad cycle. So just get back on your plan and don't feel any guilt, and realize that the fitness, right, is to make your life better. It's not to become your life. It's okay. You're not going to be Mr. Olympia. You're not going to be Mrs. Olympia. Most people, it's just, stay the path, slow and smooth. You want to stay slow and smooth. That'll
Yeah,
get you results.
an excellent point. If you're typically on track with your diet, you're doing the right things, then a day or two on the weekend, as long as you hop right back on the wagon and you kind of keep going with your habits, it's like the 80-20 rule. Yeah, well, more than that, but
Yeah,
if 80% of what you're doing is correct, then you're probably going to see pretty good results.
yeah, yeah. You just, it's not a race really to get anywhere. You know.
No, if you race to the end, you're not going to be happy with the result.
Yeah, and even with fitness too, right? Like if you stopped, if you got in shape, quote unquote, and then you stop, what's going to happen? So there's no finish line.
Yeah, no,
So it can't be a race, right? There's no finish line. So it's like,
yeah, people in a rush to get in shape, and then it's like, well, now what?
yeah,
And even some people here, they get to a certain point, they're at a good body fat percentage, they're at a good muscle mass, and they're like, all right, well, I'm not losing. But you might not have to lose anymore. It might be a matter of maintaining where you're at and just fighting age.
yeah. It's a great point. And you got to, people out there, you really use exercise and fitness. It's more for your brain. You're going to learn more about yourself as a person through your fitness routine. Once the gain, stop, and all this doesn't work, whatever, you start examining, okay, what am I actually after? What are my definitions of fitness? What am I trying to get out of this? And then you start going deeper, right? You have like that entry point, and then you go down that path. Some people go down that path, and some people just make the mistake of thinking that it's all about the physical, and it's, again, there's only so much you can do with that eventually.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said. It's supposed to supplement your life, not be your life. Improve your life, not consume your life.
Yeah, it should be a joy. It should be like, man, I like doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then you leave it at that.
yeah, and that's why what we do is based largely on community and not just lifting as much weight as humanly possible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right on.
Cool. Well, those are all the questions that I have. Anything you want to add?
No, I think those are some good questions. You know, I think, you, I always knew from when I was younger, and you probably maybe were the same way. Use the gym as a classroom. You know, it really you're going to learn more. I learned more in the gym even before the business when I was just lifting than I did in any class, any college course. You know, because you learn how to push, persevere. You learn how to be disciplined. It's easy to cut your reps if you want, if nobody's looking. So you start learning all this stuff. You know, am I going to be disciplined to show up on time? Am I going to do I like working out with people or do I like working out one on one? You know, all these little things that you can see and examine and just observe other people, you know, be a people watcher when you're in the gym, see how people move, see how they go about their workout. You know,
Yeah,
so just,
and it might evolve over time. You might be somebody that doesn't want to be in a group right now and wants to do one-on-one and
yeah,
transition more to a group or vice versa. You're like, I've been in the group for a while, but I really want to step things up and get more attention. Then one-on-one's an option. So it can kind of flip-flop.
yeah, yeah. It's and that's where you got to have just be fluid. You know, it's like Bruce Lee said, be like water. You know, you just go around stuff. You go. It's very powerful, but go with it. And I guess the last thing I would make a point is we're living in crazy times right now. You guys make sure you're taking care of your mind, body, and spirit because that, you know, if times get tougher, whatever, that's what's going to get you through. You know, with these people that are just sitting around all day doing absolutely nothing, they are going to melt when the pressure is applied to them. Um, you know, we had a crazy year, and you just prepare. Always think that you're training for like you're training for life. You know, you're training for life, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's an excellent point.
Cool. I think that was a good one. We got about 20 minutes for the people.
Nice.
So let me stop the recording.